Oh, intro.
But football without fans is not. You play a football match without fans, you've got nothing. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
And to Johnson. Johnson. And a goal by Johnson. Larson. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura. He has done it. Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
A star is born at Celtic.
Champions. That's who we are.
What's happening, guys?
Hello. How we all doing?
No bad. Aye, Jungle Jim's Tuesday Tic Talk. I know that we've got the Argentina game coming up in about 25 minutes' time, but we thought, why not just do a wee episode? How you guys doing?
Aye, all good, mate, all good.
Fantastic. Aye, to the viewers, welcome. Hope you're all having a nice Tuesday. It is bloody freezing. I've not even considered how cold it is up in the Shetlands, McGinty, but down where I am in Renfrew, it's Baltic. I think it's been in the minus temperatures the entire day. I went in the car at one point and it took about 10 minutes to actually warm up. An absolute nightmare, but there's people worse off than me, so thoughts to that. How is it up in the Shetlands? I read a news report that about 3,800 homes are without power. Obviously, you're not. How's your neighbours?
Well, if we suddenly cut out, you know what happened. Yeah, it's brutal up here, but from what I'm understanding from my brother-in-law and stuff, texting me, these guys have it a lot worse temperature-wise. The big thing for us just now is just the massive blizzards and snowstorms. You know, a couple of feet of snow in some of the higher up places the last couple of days. People taking 5 hours to do a 20-minute car journey. The airport, I believe, I'm actually on paternity leave, but I believe that the airport had to cancel most of this morning time and early afternoon flights. They'd lost radar systems and communications, so they couldn't communicate with planes. So they were down to basically emergency plane only. So I have to believe it's back up and running, which is good because my mother-in-law comes to visit me tomorrow, which is actually something I'm really looking forward to.
Brilliant. And to the viewers, I hope you're all doing well. Palman, how you doing, mate? Hope you're doing well. And by the way, commiserations about your team going out to the Argentines. So I hope Messi has a nervous breakdown tonight, even if I don't expect it. The defeat against Argentina has hit me harder than I thought. That filthy Lajos, they must lock him up and make him suffer. Well, there has been, of course, a massive love-in football-wise for Messi, but not everyone feels like that. I was certainly supporting Brazil. They get put out. Not that I dislike the Argentines, but what did you make of their antics against the Netherlands whenever they beat them on penalties? That was...
So, firstly, I'll start this by saying, Palman, I used to love you, man, but after that, no. Kidding. We can all have our football rivalries, of course. But I actually had, I read something on Twitter the other day after the game. The whole cup hand thing is a throwback. I think it was to Riquelme, was it, when Louis van Gaal was at Barcelona? And I'm sure there's something going on, and it was a thing that Riquelme done. I think it was Riquelme. It's a thing that he done in retaliation to Louis van Gaal. So the Argentinians have basically been doing it back to him because obviously Louis is the manager currently for the Netherlands. So it does come across disrespectful, massively so. You don't want to see that kind of stuff in football, the level of disrespect. But I think when you know the context of it, and maybe I'm being a bit biased, and maybe I'm making a bit of an excuse for them, but when you see the context and what it actually meant, I think the players and the coaching staff and the managers understand it, but as neutrals, we're probably turned off by it a little bit. So I can see how a lot of people have probably turned off from Argentina. Going into the first of the semi-finals, you can probably imagine most people are cheering on Croatia tonight and then probably more than likely Morocco for the next one.
Morocco being the surprise package, and no Patrick tonight. From what we understand, Paddy might make it back for the podcast. We don't know, but the last we heard, he's stuck in a Santa's grotto. So we wish the kids well. James, Morocco have been the surprise package. They've only conceded one goal. By the way, guys, we do intend to talk about Celtic tonight, but Morocco only conceded one goal, and that was an own goal. And they've kind of got, because the tournament's obviously held in Qatar, they've got the home support, understandably, because they're a Northern African team, hence a Muslim team. But it's the first African team in the semi-finals, record breakers. Do you think that they could upset the odds? Because if you look at the common theme of this tournament, you don't always go for the favourites.
No, they have been really good. It's not even as if it's been kind of back to the was as well. They've played a bit going forward. I know towards the end there. That's right. But you wouldn't be surprised. Who was it? Spain and who else was it? They put out Portugal, Ronaldo. I wouldn't be surprised. I've got a betting flip with Argentina, so that's who I'm wanting to win. Balls to the feel good factor of Morocco won the Argentines.
I know it's kind of went under the radar, but Josip Uranovic has actually been having a good tournament, and he's in the semi-final. So Uranovic's Croatia take on Argentina tonight. And I guess some people want to see Argentina go through because they love Messi. Don't really blame you. But at the same time, the further that Josip Uranovic progresses in this tournament, you know what that means. So it's a semi-final for him, but it's also a semi for the money men at Parkhead, because that means...
How long were you holding on to that one, Gav?
Longer than I can hold on to a semi, anyway. But Uranovic, by the way, I thought he had a bad game against Alistair Johnson's Canada, but that's because he was up against Alphonso Davies. But against Brazil, the guy was on fire, because I remember at half time. By the way, although I dislike English media, sometimes they can work to your advantage, because the English media were praising Uranovic, as were so many other people. Even the cameras, which are not actually run by the English broadcasters, the cameras at halftime, they immediately panned to Uranovic, because at that point he was the man of the moment. He was doing brilliant defensively and offensively. On his flank, he had Vinicius Junior, who he had already played against in the Champions League this season. He was up against Neymar, who was operating in the kind of left of midfield. But offensively, he was fantastic. Defensively, he never got caught out. In the second half, a little bit more of a quieter 45 minutes, but I think that's because Brazil were aware that he was rampaging down their flank. But McGinney, did you suspect that Uranovic was capable of this performance, or is that just what playing with good players brings out of you the best?
We always know Josip can do this performance. We know Josip is a world-class player. Croatia's number one right back at this moment in time, and understandably so. It's, as you say, when the English media are starting to praise him, especially when they know that he's playing for Celtic and in the Scottish League. If they are actually able to praise him, for me, that shows that he's actually doing really, really good. Because 9 times out of 10, they'll backhand it as, oh yeah, he's a known quantity, but he's stepping up to the occasion, as such would be the terminology. But the fact they're coming out with actual adulation, not adulation, maybe a bit of a stretch, but they're giving proper credit and due respect to him. I think that shows how consistent these performances are throughout the Brazil game. And even before that, it wasn't just a one-off. He was shown before in other matches, maybe not the Canada one, as you see, that he's actually capable of playing at that level against that caliber of player. And we'll hopefully see it again tonight. Personally, I want to see Messi win this World Cup, as he's going to be his last one, unless he has a mad, weird swan song when he's like 39 or something. This is going to be his last one. I would love to see Messi go out winning the tournament. But the further that Croatia go and the further that Josip Uranovic goes, the better it is for us overall. But is he going to make us more money by getting into the final? Probably not. But he's going to make us a fair turn right now. Getting to the semi-final, doing what he's done against Brazil. I think that's only brilliant positive thing to see English media especially praising this guy, considering they know where he's coming from.
Quite close to the bone. I do appreciate some dark humour. Peter Lowell eyeing a new garage with the Uranovic sale. Is it too soon? Is it too soon? Who knows, mate? Who knows? But just throw those jokes out there and test the temperature of the room. Aye, James. All the podcasts I've been talking about it, we are no different. But transfer fee, everybody has got an opinion. Some people, if you cast your minds back recently, they're going to be thinking about the Sevco fullbacks, that boy Nathan Patterson, the boy Bassey, who went to Ajax. And of course, for us, we've got Tierney. None of those players did it on the international level, which Uranovic has. But again, there's different factors. For those players that they were young at the time, so you're paying for potential. Whereas Uranovic is 27, going on 28, correct me if I'm wrong. So he's ready-made. If you're wanting a player who's going to slot into your team, who's got the confidence, then he's your man. Depending if you've got the budget for it. So I want to ask your thoughts. What's the bare minimum that you would accept? What would be deemed as a disappointment transfer-wise?
Well, I've said a few weeks ago in here, as I say, maybe know he's buying his biggest fans a bit harsh, but as I said, I think we maybe overrate him. Undoubtedly, at the World Cup, he's been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the Brazil game topped it off. I said I'd be happy if we get anything kind of north of 10 million. I think now, with his performances at the World Cup, you're probably looking for closer to double that. So anything between probably 15 to 20, I think, is realistic. I've seen a few places saying 25 plus. Personally, I don't think he's worth that, and I don't think we'd get that. But I'd set the minimum at 15. But with the clubs, it's I've seen that there's obviously a few clubs linked to him now. Chelsea, Atletico in the summer, that Man United, West Ham more recently. I think I've seen another couple of Spanish teams linked to him as well. So hopefully you get a wee bidding war going and we just get up closer to the 20. But anywhere between 15 and 20, I think would be great business.
Mm-hmm. Well, McGinty, we kind of hold all the cards, and saying that we have already purchased a third right back in Alistair Johnson. So unless we're going to spring a surprise and let Anthony Ralston go and keep the other two, then it looks like it's on the cards that Uranovic will leave. I do appreciate that he's been very cute in terms of media-wise. He's not been vocal. I like that. I like players who keep their cards close to their chest. They let their agents do the work, and he's not disgraced himself or the club by toying, by putting each other against, putting the agent against the club, that sort of thing. So looks like it's on the cards. James is saying 15 to 20. I can get behind that. I think if it was below 15, I'd be very disappointed. But he's got a few years left in his contract. Admittedly, I think we only bought him for about 2.5 for Legia Warsaw, but it's worked out very, very well for us. So what's your magic number?
I'd have to agree with James. 15 to 20 sounds about fair and about right. You look at what Tierney went for, I say Nathan Patterson as well. I think he went for 16, was it, or something? These guys leave Celtic and the Rangers for money that was deemed suitable for the potential building up, and other teams are buying them, thinking that they could potentially sell them on again and make more money as such. This is at 27, I think. Josip Uranovic is going on 28. This is his big move. His next move is his big move. If he doesn't move to, I don't think he's going to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona or Juventus straight from Celtic. Don't think that for a minute. But if he moves from us to an Atletico Madrid or Sevilla or something, that's his big move. That he doesn't get time to say, I'm here for potential, I'm here for you to develop me, and I'm here to experience the bigger stage sort of thing. He's at the big stage right now. Right now, this very night in about 13 minutes is the big stage for him. So whoever signs him is buying a finished product. They're not buying potential with the idea to sell him on. They're buying a ready-made first choice right back. And I think we already know that, and I think Josip knows that. Josip's never made any bad or any silly comments of, I'm here to see out my contract, I'm here for 5 years. He's not done any of this kind of kiss the badge stuff. Look at me, I'm at the biggest club in the world kind of stuff, which, yes, I agree, we are the biggest club in the world in my eyes, but most players don't. And he's never kidded us on. We all know he's here for a year or two and he's moving on. We maximise our money out of it, hence why we've waited until the World Cup before we even remotely sell him. I believe bids did go in the summertime, or at least there was interest from Atletico Madrid. And we wait until now to see if we can maximise his value. It's a 5-year contract we gave him, along with other players. We've done that for a reason. We've done it because we have faith in them, and we've done it to safeguard ourselves when it comes to situations like this, where we can turn around and say, well, actually, he's got 3.5 years. We're not shy about saying, oh, he's only got 12 months left. We need every pound we can get off him. 3.5 years, you want him, you pay the fair price, and fair price is about 15 to 20. If he was maybe 4 or 5 years younger, I could maybe see a stretch to 25. But you're buying a finished product from Celtic. You're not buying a finished product that Barcelona are signing from Sevilla or Atletico Madrid or Lyon or something where they're proven at a higher level than Celtic. You're buying it from Celtic, who's shown on the world stage that he can cut it for that level of club. I don't believe he'll go to a top club in your Barcelona's, Real Madrid, Juventus, PSG's. He's not going there. But he'll make his big move now where he'll make an impact in Europe again. And perhaps he gets that one more chance when he's 29, 30. But at that stage, he's looking to not wind down his career, but he's looking to see out his career in a good place. So I think this is his big move. He'll find that right club. He'll find a good price for him. Everybody's happy. And as you see, we've got Johnson in as well. We've done that for a reason. We're not keeping any secrets with Josip. And I think that's something that the player, the agent, and the manager can all be given credit for. They're all on the same page. And it's good to see.
James, Johnson had his press conference with Celtic. He seemed very, very comfortable in front of the cameras. I don't suppose if you caught any snippets of it, but he seems very confident.
I just caught wee bits on Twitter. No, if he plays as well as he speaks, then we're on to something. But it will be good to see him because, admittedly, I've hardly seen anything of him apart from the World Cup, which was kind of, you took it off with the smooth with that because he had one terrible game and one really good game. So it'll be interesting to see as well. Obviously, he can play in at centre back. So aye. So get the Celtic back and we can get watching and see what we've got.
I remember one World Cup and I'd recorded the games, and right after it we signed Efrain Juarez, and I know that he'd played in the Mexican team, so I watched back all of Mexico's games, the 3 group games, and I thought he looked all right. And it's funny how like you latch onto those performances. You just hold on to like, is that player going to replicate what he did for the country? But at the same time, you're on the world stage. Everybody walks that inch taller. When they're representing their country for the World Cup. It's maybe not always easy to replicate the country forum for your club forum throughout the season, but interesting times anyway. And we know that Ange isn't just buying footballers; he's buying characters. He's a scary judge of character, and he probably made that infamous phone call to Alistair Johnson, tried to suss him out, but no doubt he'd done his homework on him from the feedback from his coaches as well. So I'm sure Ange knows what type of character and player he's getting, but time will tell. James, sticking with yourself, kind of like what we've seen with Greg Taylor surpassing expectations. Do you think, and Bernabe coming in and having a bit of a tough gig getting the jersey from him, do you think that could be replicated on the right flank with Ralston exceeding expectations once more and Johnson taking a bit of time to wrestle that jersey off him?
I think so. I think it will be kind of Ralston that gets the nod the next few weeks anyway, and then maybe see Johnson getting on the last kind of 20 minutes, half an hour in a few weeks' time. I don't think he will go straight in. But as I say, it is kind of hard to tell because obviously Ralston did kick on again, but then Uranovic was still always your number one choice, wasn't he? So I don't imagine we'll be banking on Tony Ralston being our number one. I don't actually, as good as he's been, I don't like the idea of having Tony Ralston as our number one right back. I think on his current form that he's shown for the last kind of 18 months, I'm more than happy to have him as a backup, but I would still like to have a a number one right back, and hopefully, obviously, that's what Johnson will become through time.
Good call, mate. Right, guys, a couple of rumoured departures. Let's just sign these ones off. Scott Robertson, I think the news has broke that his contract will not be extended. 21-year-old youngster from Celtic. Personally, I can only remember a couple of appearances under Neil Lennon. I don't know if you guys have got a greater memory than me, but whenever you're a youngster, 21 years old at Celtic, you're out on loan here and there. I guess the writing was on the wall. I'm not surprised. McGinty, a bit of a common theme though. Another one bites the dust. Our youth record over the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, you can probably count on one hand the success stories. What's your thoughts on that? 'Cause I know that you are quite not emotionally invested in the production, but you do get annoyed when you see people slip through the cracks.
I get annoyed when I see people slip through the cracks who show potential and aren't getting given a chance or are being wasted. I'm kind of caught a little bit out with Robertson, as you said. He's only probably played a handful of times, most of them probably under Neil Lennon, a few times in friendlies under Ange. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat if he's actually started a competitive game under Ange. I don't think he has. But he's 21. He is young. His career's still in front of him, the next 14, 15 years if he wants it. But at 21, if you've not cracked it at a club at the size of Celtic, and I'm not saying we're massive and we can only buy players at a certain age, but if you're a development project through our youth system and you're getting to the age of 21 and you've not really cracked it into the team, a la Kieran Tierney, James Forrest, Cam McGregor went out and had his loan spell, and I think he came back at the age of 21, 22 and got into the team. Scott Robertson's had 2 loan spells. I think it was Crewe and Dagenham and Red. I think it was.
Gillingham as well.
Gillingham, was it? He's had those experiences. If it was loan spells to, third league Scottish teams, I would say, well, he's not been given a chance, but he's went to a reasonable level in England to show what you can do a little bit. He's came back and not done enough under Angie's eyes, who we all can agree has a good eye for a player and a good understanding of what he wants to fit his style. So if he's 21, not breaking into the Celtic team the way he wants to or the way that we'd hope he would, and Ange doesn't see a place for him, I'm okay with him moving on. It's one of those ones you move on. The thing I hate seeing is guys like Dembele, who's obviously now left us, and let's all hope that it doesn't happen with guys like Rocco Vata, who are your 17, 18, 19 years old, chapping on that door, banging the door down. I want a game. I want to get into the team. I want to play and train with the first team and stuff. And they get rejected all the time. So long as these players at 17, 18 are getting into the squad somewhere, getting that friendly appearances, getting the cup appearances every so often, be it over a year or two, but they're making the little incremental progress, then it's great. But 21, I think Scott Robertson's probably realised he's not getting that out of Celtic, and Celtic don't, not that we don't rate him, but he doesn't fit what Ange is doing. And Ange is here for another 2-3 years, so is it worth anybody's time for Scott Robertson to be a 23, 24-year-old in an Ange system where he's not playing? It doesn't.
He needs to go out. He's a footballer. He's not playing football at Parkhead. Go out and make a career. James, another one here for Paddy. No space in centre midfield for Robertson, as we're talking about. And the next one on the list is Ideguchi. So Ideguchi was one of the Japanese contingent. I guess in my opinion, he's proven to me that he doesn't have what it takes. I know he's had misfortune, injuries, and things like that. Did you ever think it was going to work out for Ideguchi?
It's kind of hard to say. Out of that list, then I think Ideguchi's the one that you probably need to give the most kind of leeway, just purely because of his injuries. He's been really, really, really unlucky with his injuries. Abelgard, I think he's only here for a year anyway, isn't he? So he'll be. I don't imagine, obviously, we'll be keeping him on. James McCarthy shouldn't have been signed in the first place. I think that's not a controversial thing to say, but I feel as if James McCarthy gets a really hard time I don't think James McCarthy's ever let us down. I don't think he's ever been excellent. I'm no starting a campaign for him to start games, but I don't think he's ever let us down any time he's come on. Robertson, obviously, as we said, just to pick up on what McGinty was saying, see when you're getting to like 21, 22, if you've never got into the first team, then the chances are you're not going to make it. I mean, we've seen it in recent years with like Ewan Henderson as well, even Liam Henderson to an extent, I suppose. For me, if you're like you're saying with Rocco Vata, when you're 19, then 19, kind of 18, 19, 20, that's when you should be getting on off the bench and things like that. And I know, obviously, going back to what we said a couple of weeks ago, for me, that's where the Lowland League maybe kind of isn't or it should be, because we're not getting the numbers coming through for there that we should be for the B team. So he'll probably go in, and if he doesn't get a Scottish team, I know particularly like Gillingham, they quite liked him, so he'll maybe rock up somewhere down there again. But out that list, I can't disagree with any of them. I probably feel sorry more than anything for Ideguchi. Abelgard, it's kind of hard to say in it. We've not really seen him be that fitness, or he just doesn't fit the style. McCarthy was never an Ange signing, that's obviously well known. But Ideguchi's the one you feel sorry for just because of injury. But hopefully we get rid of the four of them. That frees up some wages, and we can get one first team ball winning midfielder in for Europe.
Yeah. The last thing I would say about Ideguchi is he doesn't have a particular quality which is good enough to justify inclusion in the team. Like if you look at Maida, whether you like Maida or not, you know exactly what he does. He's done it in the World Cup. He's done it for Celtic. Kyogo, you know what he does. Hatate, again, his qualities are there to see. These guys are going to get better. Again, whether you're fans of them or not, it's undisputable what they bring to the table. Ideguchi, I don't see what he's got, and I think that's why he's going. I hate to say it, but he sounds like a perennial bad luck story. He had it at Leeds under Bielsa. He had an injury there, didn't quite work out when he came back from injury. And yeah, so the rumour is that the teams back in Japan are lining up to obtain Ideguchi's signature to bring him back home. So best of luck to the guy. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It's a cutthroat business, and our midfield is certainly competitive as well. Guys, one other midfielder, Tom Rogic. What can I mention Tom Rogic? He scored a very cute goal last night for West Brom, and I wanted to get your thoughts about what I would deem as the mystifying days since his Parkhead departure. He hung about in Glasgow for a bit, and even the Australian coach was trying to get a hold of him, and it was poorly played out in the media, but the Australian coach said, I can't get a hold of him, I don't know what he's doing. And of course, Australia go to the World Cup without him, which was a shock, and they get through to the last 16, which was a shock as well. But you'd be thinking, Rogic deserves to be there, but maybe he didn't deserve to be there. It is mystifying, that's the word I would use. Now he's playing for West Brom, and it just seems like such a step down. He had one of his best seasons for Celtic last season under Postecoglou. At times, he's a joy to behold. And we've probably not really replaced him in terms of that kind of playmaker role. But McGinty, the guy's still kind of in his prime, 29 going on 30. He's still got it, but you don't know if it's a something growing in his personal life, which would explain the I don't know. I don't know what his agent is doing either. It seems like his ambition doesn't really correlate to a player at that stage of his career. What's your thoughts?
I just realised he's only 29. See, for the fact he's been at Celtic for so long, along with Neil Beaton, I think both of them were just 9 years, were they? When they both left, and we all, as Celtic fans, I think we all, clapped away and says, "Well done, guys! You've done your time. Thank you very much. Free transfer, off you go." It would be lovely to get a few million for each of the players, but I don't think we wanted to hold them ransom. They wanted to move on. I believe Near Beatons went closer to home, if not back to Israel. And I think the impression was that Tom Rogic was going to do similar. Was he going to go play in Saudi Arabia or something like that, or India, and just get a bit closer to Australia? I don't want to speculate too much about what you just said about staying in Glasgow a bit too long, couldn't get hold of the manager for Australia. They went to the World Cup without him and stuff. I don't want to stipulate too much about that because we don't know what the circumstance was, but it does look odd. It does look very odd, especially that you just remind me that he's only 29, that he's actually left Celtic for a free transfer, 29 years old. He should be very much in his prime right now. And he was. He had a brilliant season for us last year. Yet he's went to West Bromwich Albion, who are playing that kind of football and that kind of level that you saw Gary Hooper go to in Norwich, which is, yeah, you're going into the big league with all the lights and all the bells and whistles and all the cameras on you, but you're playing for a team who traditionally are going to be backs against the walls. And you're playing a guy like Tom Rogic, who is an absolute luxury player for most teams. He's not defensive minded. Nobody actually thinks Tom Rogic can play central midfield. He has to play that number 10 or the secondary striker off the striker sort of thing. He has to be playing quite far forward. So why he's showing up at West Brom, I have no idea, because they're going to be backs against the wall most of the time. They're going to bring him on, and he's going to do very little because he's getting very little service and very little support. He'll get his good goals every so often, but other than that, he's not going to do much. Not because he's shite, but because the service is going to be so piss. He's going to be deemed a failure down there, and he's going to ruin his career. At Celtic, he's going to go down as an icon, but he's going to ruin his own little career. Not a legend. Been through this in the chat. Not a legend. But it just seems so weird. I honestly thought he was about 31, 32. I think he will go away for 2-3 years and wind down your career. He should be going into Europe. If he's not going to go back over to the east side of the world, he should be going to mainland Europe, be it in Germany, obviously not Bayern Munich or Dortmund. He's not going to get that level. But he should be playing in Germany or France or Spain or somewhere, Italy even, and playing a role where teams are built around that luxury player to play in the hole, to be ping the ball to them and they'll do the magic. Not we want you to produce magic at some point, but also can you come back and defend for us at the same time? Because Tom Rogic cannot do that at all.
I just googled it there. He turns 30 on Friday. James, a bit of a mystifying one. I only bring him up because what we were talking about him last night. He scored that goal for West Brom, but
I think I probably think his time at Celtic was up. I think he left at the right time, but to replace him with Aaron Moy essentially, in terms of who we brought in, that kind of baffles me a wee bit. But if there ever was a player that wasn't suited to playing in the Championship, then it's Tom Rogic, because about 95% of that league it's just punt and run, and obviously as you say, when that happens, the game's literally just played over his head. That just passes him by. But no, I was surprised to see him go to West Brom. Steve Bruce as well, man. If ever there was a player that wasn't suited to Brucey ball, then it was Tom Rogic. So I thought I know obviously he said he wasn't going to go to Australia, but like McGinty, I thought he'd have went to that neck of the woods anyway. Got a club out there and decent contract, seen his days out, retired maybe about 33, 34.
You know what, James? Think about how many players we're taking from Japan just now. That's 2 players that we've taken from Vissel Kobe, where Andreas Iniesta's playing. Iniesta has a large say in that club, from what I understand, as far as transfer policies are concerned and whatnot. Well, not policies, but who they would look to sign. I think they brought in Sergi Samper and another Barcelona player at the same time as Iniesta. You would think there's not a connection or a link, but a communication between clubs, that if a player like Tom Rogic is leaving, the J League would surely be absolutely brilliant for Tom Rogic. And if we're taking a couple of players from Vissel Kobe who have a guy like Andreas Iniesta playing in midfield with them, that almost sounds like, from our perspective of being green-tinted specs, almost a match made in heaven. Imagine Andreas Iniesta spread the ball around for Tom Rogic just in front of him to have pop shots. Come on, that's where he should be.
Do you remember who Vissel Kobe replaced Kyogo with?
Absolutely not. Podolski was before him. Podolski was there a couple of years ago. Was it Kurtic?
He actually had a better goal scoring record than Messi. La Masia.
Who was it? Who did replace him?
Bojan.
Bojan.
The guy that, if you read his career CV backwards, is quite impressive, but if you read it forward, it gets progressively worse. Somehow he managed to go from the heights of Barcelona to, I think it was Milan, and he's in Germany. I can't remember if it was Dortmund or not, but it progressively gets worse as he goes on. But if you read it backwards, it actually looks like he's going up the way.
He rocked
I
up at
remember.
Stoke for a while as well, didn't he?
Yeah. That's right. I remember actually having a conversation with my mate. It was like easily 10 years ago now, and I said to him, "Who do you think will be the biggest superstar, Alexandre Pato of Brazil or Bojan Krkic?" Because both of them look like the next world class players coming onto the scene, but both of them, for one reason or another, just never cut it, unfortunately. Guys, we have got Aberdeen this weekend. Thank fuck for the return of domestic football. The World Cup will still be going on because that concludes the following day. But we've got Aberdeen at Pittodrie, 12:30 kickoff. Beginning to do you just shiver there? Is it?
A little bit. It's kind of cold. It's a wee bit snowy.
Right. Okay. So Aberdeen away at Pittodrie. Wanted to get your thoughts for the pre-match review of this one. So Celtic are unbeaten at Pittodrie since February 2016. And in the subsequent games, we've had 10 wins and 2 draws since then. However, this season, Aberdeen are the best of the rest outside the 2 Glasgow clubs. They're sitting in 25 points. They've got 8 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses. However, their home form is actually pretty good. I'm going to run you briefly through their home form just because we need to know who we're up against this weekend. We know we're up against Aberdeen, but let's not write them off. Home form, they've won 4-1 against St Mirren, 5-0 against Livy, 4-1 against Kelly, 2-0 against Hearts, 4-1 against Hibs, and 1-0 against Dundee United. The only home defeat they've had, 3-2 against Motherwell. I think that looks for pretty good reading. Jim Goodwin, I know that the Paddy is a big fan of him. It looks like he's building something if he's given the time at Aberdeen. But Majowski, their centre forward, he's the top scorer, joint top scorer in the league with 11. James, after me saying that, you're just going to say we're going to walk all over them, aren't you?
5 or 6, I think. 5 or 6. Nah, I think it will be a right hard game. I was going to say just obviously before you've mentioned it there, they have been flying. Aberdeen have been flying at Pittodrie. Jim Goodwin, obviously, since he came in, has been excellent. That big guy up front looks a danger. They've got a wee guy in the mid. I say a wee guy, he's about 7 foot, I think. Is it Ramadi or Ramadani or something like that? When we played them at Parkhead, he looked the part. I've seen him a couple of times since, and he's looked all right. So I think it will be a right hard game. I'll go a wee 3-2 victory.
3-2 victory. Okay, well that doesn't sound good for the Heart. McGinty, we spoke about it last week, how the running between now and the 2nd of January could be pivotal. Because if we win the remaining 5 games, I would actually say that the league is over by that point. We've got Aberdeen, Livy, St Johnstone, Hibs, and of course Sefco on the 2nd of January. If we win all 5, I think that the league is over because that would put us 12 points ahead, at least 12 points ahead. So how big is this Aberdeen game coming back into it? We've had obviously the international break and the return of Callum McGregor as well. Would you start Callum McGregor? Has he had enough time to recuperate, do you think? Or would you start with, I don't know, a different midfield 3? Tell me your thoughts.
I don't think I'll start McGregor. If Hatate, O'Reilly are both fit, I'd go with them in the midfield too. And see who the third would be. Would it be Turnbull? Would it be Moy? I don't think I'd start McGregor. I think he's just been out for a little bit too long to throw him into what could be quite a tough game against Aberdeen away. I think of the 5 games leading up to and including the Rangers game, I think it's the toughest one out of the 5. I'll include the Rangers game in that. I think it is the toughest one for a couple of the reasons that you just said there, Gavin. The fact that we're coming back from 3 weeks off, a bit of a break, people might be rusty on our side, on their side, who knows? The form that we had going into it is potentially not there anymore. We are going to miss Josip Uranovic. Is Aaron Moy going to be back in time? Probably is. Is Carl Vickers going to be back? Probably. But these guys haven't had the same break that the other guys have had. And then you look at Aberdeen, they are then, as you say, the best of the rest as such. Do they carry that form going in after a few weeks off? I think it's the toughest one of the five. And I think if we beat Aberdeen, I think we can confidently go into the next few games into the new year with a good bit of bravado, a good bit of confidence into these games. Can't take them lightly though, any of them, because as you say, if we take maximum points, it means that they drop at least 3 points against us, so it puts it to 12. I also think they'll drop points elsewhere. I think we could be looking at possibly 15 points come the end of January the 2nd. And at that point, Gavin, I'm surprised you're admitting it just now because you're usually a lot more reserved. But if we're 12 going on 15 points clear by the end of play on the 2nd of January, for me, the league's done. There's no way back. There absolutely is no way back here. I looked at the league tables for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and most seasons on average, we probably lose 2 or 3 games. There's once or twice it's been 4 or 5. I think we've lost 1 so far this season. I think, maybe.
Yep.
Have we? Yep. If we're 12 points clear, they need us to lose 4 games at least to tie with us. And that means we have to lose 5 games in a season where we're halfway through and we are flying high. That's never going to happen. That we have to, seriously implode for them to come back from that. It's nigh on impossible.
Aye, well, it's tantalisingly close, but I wouldn't say it's squeaky bum time, but it's just, the rewards. If we keep it together and string 5 victories together, the rewards are that the season is pretty much over. The players wouldn't admit it. Postecoglou wouldn't admit it. And the new guy on the scene, Beale, he wouldn't admit it. Although it'd be hilarious if he came out with like a Kashinya quote. He said, our players are still the best in the league. That'd be fucking hilarious. But, if we win the next 5, then it's gravy. It's absolutely gravy. But that's why I would start Callum McGregor. So assuming that the fitness guys, the sports science people are happy with how he's performing in training and that he's hitting the correct figures and stats-wise, and I would start him because Pittodrie, it's been a happy hunting ground, but because we need to work for it and we do work for it, we know what we're getting ourselves in for. James, I think it's a time for characters. Maybe a more interesting point is Kyogo or Giacomakis, that sort of thing, to go for the physicality. I'm happy with Ralston at right back because Uranovic, for me, I think a lot of people would agree, he's not really be firing all cylinders in the league. But for me, you would have to start the captain, Callum McGregor. People look to him. He that old cliche, he makes other players play better. So for me, that's non-negotiable as long as he's fit.
I'd be putting him right back in as well because he's the only player that we've got that can do both essentially, a kind of real box-to-box midfielder. We don't really have anybody else that can do what he does. And as I've said before, obviously with him coming back in, O'Reilly and Hatate can go forward and play their more natural game. In terms of up front, it'll probably be Kyogo because I feel as if every time we say it should be Giacomakis, or it probably will be Giacomakis, then it's Kyogo. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. I think I'd rather see Giacomakis, but I think it will be Kyogo that gets a nod.
Can I ask? I've been a bit MIA the last few weeks for obvious reasons to yourselves, guys. Is everybody fit? Obviously, Josip's not going to be here. He's at the World Cup. And even if they go out tonight, he's still not going to be back on time for Saturday. Not remotely. He needs another week off, if you ask me at least. But is everybody fit? If we have Carter Vickers, Moy and stuff, is everybody available?
Yeah,
I think so. Apart from obviously the good change stuff, I think Starfelt was back as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Starfelt played against Rennes, yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I would go as strong as possible. You obviously not got Josip, so you played Ralston. That's not a down thing. That's not a negative. But you play Hart, you play Ralston, you play Carter Vickers, you play Starfelt, Bernaby. I'll agree. I'll agree with it. I don't think he will make it, but I'll agree with it. McGregor,
Would
Hatate,
you go?
O'Reilly.
Would you go Bernabe over Taylor?
Yeah, personally, yeah. I think he just offers. I think Taylor defensively as a solid fullback. Taylor's probably got an all round game better than Bernabe, but as an attacking threat with Jota on the left, I think Bernabe can just offer a little bit more overlap, a little bit more cohesion there. And yeah, I'd play Jota on the left. Personally, I'd play Abada on the right, and I'd play either one of the two through the middle, Giakoumakis or Kaigo.
See, talking about Bernabe over Taylor, the game that sticks out in my mind is the Hearts game, the infamous VAR game, the 4-3 game, where Bernabe get hooked, and obviously Taylor came on and he got the winner. I felt that Bernabe, although I like the signs that the Bernabe showing, I just felt in that kind of pressure cooker atmosphere that he didn't really capitalize on it. Whereas Taylor knows, you know what you're going to get from Taylor. Taylor is not going to wilt under that type of pressure. I think we need to start a best 11, and for me, that's Taylor in there.
I would agree with you, but I also feel that Bernabe's been given a lot more opportunities recently. He had a bit of a shaky start to his Celtic career. He was injured for a while. He had that incident, shall we call it. He almost looked like his career had failed before he even got going at Celtic. But as we're tailing off to the end of the period before the break, for me, it looked like Bernabe was getting his chance, he's getting his opportunities, and he's being built into being the number one left back. I think you sign a guy like Bernabe, 21, he might be 22 now, Argentinian, high potential, kind of, not a star name, but he's got that kind of, how do you call it, quality about him, the kind of expectation of him. And Ange is bringing him in. That's not a Celtic sign. Bernabe is not a Peter Law or Nicholson sign or whatever. But Bernabe is an Ange signing, and he's been building him into it. I think he starts, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think he starts.
If Argentina win tonight, then Bernabe will be out in the Swally. Guaranteed. He'll be hung over for the weekend.
100% agree. 100%.
Paddy just texting from the Santa's Grotto, Bernabe over Taylor. You're off your nut, Mr. McGinty.
Come on and tell me otherwise.
So from Lanky, he thinks that it will be Hart, Ralston, Yen, Starfelt, Taylor. I agree with that, unless Cameron Carter-Vickers has shown he's fit enough. So I agree with that back five. Calmac, Rio, and Matt O'Reilly. Agree with that again. And up front, he's went for Abada, Kyogo, and Jota. James, Abada, he's the mystery man right now. Whenever you write him off, he scores 2 goals for you. And whenever you're thinking today he's going to run riot, then he gets taken off at half time. But he's still young and his stats are very impressive. I think I know football, but I don't understand Abada. What's your impression of the guy so far, and would you put him in this weekend?
I like him. I know, obviously, as we say, they kind of divide opinion even between ourselves, but I like him. I think it's hard to remember with the amount of games he's played for us that he is still so young. And obviously, as you say, his numbers are brilliant for especially somebody his age. I don't know. I'd probably maybe go with Maida at the weekend if he's available. Just imagine he'll be on a bit of a high for the World Cup, especially his last performance, getting his goal and things like that. Maida, be Kyogo in it. Maida, Kyogo, and Jota. That'd be my forward three.
McGinty, you going to go for Abada up front and Jota and Kyogo?
It's Jota on the left, Abada on the right. There's no doubt about that for me.
Hacksaw, fucking hell, man.
Hacksaw's there as well, yeah.
Take Maida's dropped.
Maida's dropped. Haksabanovic, could he play? We know he could play in the number 10, but could he play that along with Calmac and Rio Tai? Think how dynamic and forward thinking that midfield three would be, along with Jota and Abada on either side. Kind of frightening, actually, when you think about it. No, for me, Abada starts on the right every time for me. James Forrest, absolutely love the guy. He's close to being a club legend. Doesn't quite make it, but he's close to being a club legend. But James Forrest, he clearly isn't the player that Ange wants. Abada is. And Abada, I was just trying to look at his stats on the phone there just to double check a few things. But he's still one of, I think he's our second top goal scorer in the league. I think overall in all competitions, his goals and assists are probably one of the highest that we have this season and last season. And as James says, he's so young, you forget that he's 20 going on 21 just now. Guys like Burnaby were still saying, he's a young guy, he's just came into the club. He's about a year older than him. Ralston's 2 years older than him. He's a young guy, he's learning his trade, and he's pulling out numbers that Scott Sinclair's first season at Celtic would be proud of. Give him time. He's rusty. He can't defend for crap. He needs to learn how to round the keeper, take that extra touch to create a bit of space on him. But even that aside, he still gets the numbers for Celtic, and for me, he starts every time he's fit.
Interesting. Guys, another kind of question that I meant to ask earlier on, and by the way, to the viewers, thank you for still kind of keeping with us, because we know that there's a semi-final underway right now. Even if you've got one eye on the TV and one ear for us, we're with that. We're happy with that. Thank you for that, guys. Moritz Jens. Now that we've bought Kobayashi, what is your gut feeling on Moritz Jens? Whenever after maybe the first couple of months, I was thinking, yeah, we're going to buy him. I don't think he's particularly dropped off as such, but I would have thought that come January, that would have been a typical time for Celtic under Postecoglou's kind of transfer policy of being aggressive and agile. Would have thought that would have been the prime time for Postecoglou to pull the trigger on Jens to make it a permanent deal. But there's been no chatter about that. And in fact, I think the chatter is kind of went the other way, that people are thinking we're having second thoughts about him, that maybe we can do better. So the question is, can we do better? Do you think it's plain to see that Postecoglou prefers Starfelt over Jens, and he's made his mind up perhaps that we're not going to pull the trigger on Jens, and therefore we've brought in Kobayashi to go higher in the pecking order than Stephen Welsh. James, where's your thoughts on that? Have you been impressed with the guy? He's got height for one thing, which our centre-backs do not have.
Between him and Starfelt, I'm not convinced with either, to be honest. It's kind of much of a muchness. I've never been convinced with Starfelt. Even last season, it kind of obviously started shaky and then kind of grew into it, but I was still always felt as if he'd made a mistake in him. The same with Jens, and I know obviously they're the ones that's kind of there to bring the ball out and maybe play a wee bit more, so mistakes are more likely. But I don't know, he doesn't. Was it Tynecastle? He had a bit of a nightmare, and I feel he's always got that in him. As I say, similar with Starfelt. Probably it's ones that I'd be happy with as a backup, but I'd maybe be looking for another starting centre back, but that would probably depend on Jens leaving, because I don't see signing obviously another centre back and Jens at the same time. So ideally, for me, Jens will go and we'll sign another kind of a first choice, because I feel as if we really want to kick on under Ange, then I think we need better than Starfelt and Jens. I would see the two of them as decent backup, but if their name's in the team sheet, then probably you'll maybe get a wee mistake in them. So I'd like to see better than both.
Well, McGinty, there's wisdom behind these kind of transfer moves that we make with a loan, with the option to buy, because there's no obligation to buy, and it gives us the benefit of checking him out firsthand and seeing if he is good enough, if he is going to fit that philosophy. So maybe this is one of those occasions where we're not going to take it up, but we have had the benefit of seeing him firsthand, and maybe, although it might click for some fans, maybe it's not quite clicking for Ange. He thinks that we can do better. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly that. I think the loan to buy option is always a great thing to have. Most people aren't a fan of a loan that is benefiting the parent club. I think we like to see ourselves as having a little bit more control over it. So a loan to buy is always a great thing. As you say, it allows us to see for how they fit with us, and are they willing to come to us? Can we offer them what they want, and vice versa? I think Jens, would sign for us. I don't think he would hesitate for it. But I have to agree with James that if you're bringing, Carter Vickers is the level we need. Carter Vickers, he's not quite Virgil van Dijk, but he's a level that we can expect at Celtic to be the key man at centre back. We need another Carter Vickers. So I think we're signing Kobayashi and we're trying to see, can that be the partnership? And if that's the partnership going forward for the next 2-3 years, then you're looking at Starfelt and Jens and Welsh. Which one of you three is really the supporting third option? And I think Starfelt deserves it. I think Starfelt's done more than enough to say that he is capable of being a rotational, not the number one centre back, obviously, because I'm saying Kobayashi and Carter Vickers, but you need a third one who happily rotates in to give somebody a rest. It's such a key partnership. You need actually three to allow it to work properly, because if you rely just on two and have your backup as, i.e. Jens and Welsh, that's nowhere near the calibre. But if you have Kobayashi and Carter Vickers and your backup is Starfelt, that's reasonable. So I think Jens and Welsh are the two that are fighting it out right now behind the scenes. Does Jens get signed full time? At which point Welsh probably moves on. Or does Welsh step up and tell Ange, I'm your fourth choice and your homegrown quarter and your young player, and takes over from Jens as being the fourth choice? If both of them fail, you then look at guys like Dane Murray. And if he's not ready, we might look at somebody else again. But I think we're looking at the three being Carter Vickers, Kobayashi, and Starfelt. Going forward, I think that's what the hope is.
Aye. Well, one question I've got to you guys is going into the Champions League next season, and Ange, he's very quotable. He was talking about transfer policy being aggressive, agile. He said if one player goes, we want to replace them with an equal caliber or better. James, you're saying that you don't think perhaps that either Starfelt or Jens is where Postecoglou sees his Celtic defence being. We've seen how we've acquitted ourselves in the Champions League this season, but going into next season, are we going to improve upon the personnel? Assuming Cameron Carter-Vickers stays, of course, there's no reason to suggest that he's going to leave. But all the signs suggest is that it's either going to be Starfelt or Jens or the unknown Kobayashi, who's never played outside Japan.
Can I interject just quickly before James comes in? I think that's what Ange is doing. I think that's why it's a brilliant thing to bring Kobayashi in now in December. He's actually in Glasgow training with the team, and you've got Jens on loan with the option to buy. This has given us all the options in the world to find out in the next 5 months what we do for the summer. If all these options fail and we still only have Carter Vickers as the only trustworthy one, we've got all summer to go figure that shit out.
Well, it's something that you need to get right, huh? James, Postecoglou, there's so much riding on our progress. That's the kind of tangible. That's how you measure our progress now in the Champions League, or at least we hope to be measured that way. So, what do you think Chinky's going to stick or twist?
Word for word what McGinty said, really, in it. I mean, it's very much know at Celtic to have a bit of foresight and actually be planning ahead. I think that's maybe just why we're not used to it. But even similar with Johnson as well, innit? I mean, Uranovic is still here. Johnson, I think it's clearly he's been brought in as his replacement. Kobayashi probably similar. Maybe does Welsh go in the summer, or do we keep him for the homegrown quota? I don't know. But I'm saying Kobayashi's coming in to be third choice. I'm basing it off the fact that I've never heard him, to be honest. That's just ignorant on my part. That I've never seen him playing, so I'm just assuming that. But if he says it, as McGinty says, if he comes in and does the business and he's playing, oh, good. If he comes in, does the business, he's playing the looks part, then Carter Vickers and Kobayashi with Starfelt in the bench, I wouldn't really have a problem with that at all. But as it stands just now, I would get rid of Jens. Welsh just kind of floats a bit anyway, he doesn't really get much of a say, but I'd be happy with that.
Right, what's happened with this penalty?
James, you're a man with the know. Are we scoring it?
Love
Is
and
Messi
just get
stepping up?
booked. I'll tell you in a couple of minutes.
Oh, you're behind.
I am on the iPlayer.
Anybody say anything for the next 90 seconds? My player's a good minute and a half behind.
Keeper's booked, I know he's injured.
Keeper cleared the Argentina lad. Messi steps up.
Is that still the Livakovic guy, the keeper?
Yeah.
Absolute quality in the old FM scene.
That's what I was saying that last week. Did you watch that Captains on Netflix?
No.
Nah.
No, yet.
It follows like Modric is one of them, and then there's like Blake, the Jamaican goalie. There's a few of them, but that Livakovic, he's in it quite a bit as well when it's in Croatia, and he looks terrible. He ends up getting dropped and stuff, but he's been absolutely fantastic at this.
I think he's. I've missed quite a lot of the group stage games. What with the whole Baba thing, but for me, from what I understand, Livakovic has looked superb in the World Cup. It will be. I think he plays for Zagreb. Is he still playing for? Dinamo Zagreb. How he's still there is a mystery. But after this World Cup, I think he's going to be the one. For us, it's going to be Josip Uranovic that gets the big transfer probably in January. But for the World Cup as a whole, I think people will be talking about Livakovic and what club he goes to. You go from Dinamo Zagreb, he's not going to go to France to Rennes or Saint Etienne. I think he's going to go from Zagreb to a Dortmund or something like that.
Aye.
Messi 1-0. Nice. I'm not going to lie. I'm absolutely ecstatic. I'm not showing it, but Argentina and Messi to win this World Cup is just going to be... It's going to make my day, man.
So, man, Bet365 had Messi shot on target in Argentina to qualify at 64, so...
Well, there you go. the only gutter thing that I have, I'm glad I split the bets up, but I had, what's his face? Lautaro Martinez to be top goal scorer and Argentina to win as separate bets. And thankfully, I kept it as separate bets because Martinez has been woeful.
Aye, I've done that as well. Paddy Power, as I said, had the pound free bet for every shot on target and every goal. I think I've had £2 after them.
Here, guys, see in terms of this World Cup, I was thinking about it, comparing it to other years. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only 3 proper world-class players in terms of like game changers, you know what I mean? Like classic wingers, classic centre-forwards, classic number 10s. I think Messi still got it at the age of 35, of course. Mbappe, who I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Mbappe, and Modric. But I think that there's a dearth of talent. There's Ronaldo, he's no longer world class. I think most people would agree with that. He's surplus to requirements for club and country now. But I think it's actually quite sad that you don't have like brand names, you know, in terms of like back in like '94, like that's one that I love. Like you had like Baggio, Stoichkov, Hagi, Romario. You had so many, but this year, I don't think there's that many at all, man.
I think the World Cup as a whole has been quite good, but I can see where you're coming from, Gav. When you look at the Italians not making it, you've lost a wealth of talent there. And then you look at guys like Germany dropped out. Germany, where the hell they are. Spain, I think Spain are on the cusp where everybody talks about national teams having these generations and these cycles. We all are witnessing. We all thought Croatia actually came to the end of the cycle a couple of years ago, but they're still going. But this really is the tail end of their cycle. Belgium, they've dropped off the edge of their cliff. Germany, they're nowhere to be seen. Spain, you can see the start of something with the likes of Gavi and Pedri and Ansu Fati and stuff like that. They're at the start of something, but they're lacking 2 players, maybe 3. They're lacking a key defender. They're lacking a proper centre forward. Yeah. And maybe a midfielder just to link everything, because you're expecting Busquets to drop out soon enough. If not after this World Cup, you won't play any more games for Spain. Spain are missing something, but they're getting there. The same way that France a few years ago were getting somewhere, and France eventually won the big tournament a couple of years, 4 years ago. you're looking at France now. They are the prime team. They are the team that's going to win this whole thing. Probably more likely than anything. I would love to be Argentina. But you are right, Gav, that there's a distinct lack of talent when when the Germans and the Spanish go out so early and they're lacking so much talent. The Dutch have been nowhere to be seen for the last 15 years or so, although they still have a brand and a name. Well, did have a brand, but they still have a name just now. Italians aren't there at all. And France, they've lost Benzema. Benzema is the go-to striker after Lewandowski in the world right now. Like, proper striker. Messi, you count as a weird playmaker thing. But when you lose that talent, Ronaldo, wow, what a, literally during the World Cup, what a fall. That was mental to see that. And you're right, Gav, the actual raw talent, the real talent that you go to a World Cup and you want to see every game, you want to see these Ronaldinho's, Rivaldo's, original Ronaldo. I'm just naming Brazilians at this point, but you know what I mean.
Even like African
we're
players,
lacking it. We're lacking it.
African players like back then, like Ivory Coast, they had a brilliant team like Didier Drogba, the two Toure brothers. You know what I mean? Like Yaya Toure was a force of nature.
I think you're doing Colo Toure a massive favour there.
yeah, cowed.
Yeah,
I wasn't watch Colo Toure.
But for fuck's sake, is it 2-0 now?
Oh, go on. Was it Messi again? Somebody tell me who scored. Who scored?
Croatia's got a corner for me.
So that's a corner, a breakaway for a counter attack, and Messi scored a wonder goal. Just to let you know, James.
Lautaro Martinez comes off the bench.
Heads in from the bench. No, it wasn't Messi.
No.
DePaul.
That is a breakaway for a corner.
Mad Paul and his mate McAllister played for Argentina.
Oh,
that was McAllister. I think his grandfather was Scottish.
Have you noticed? I don't know if it's I don't officially know what his name's meant to be. Obviously, it's Mac Alistair, but I've seen a few times where his name's cropped up on the TV screen and it's just Alistair as his surname. It's not Mac Alistair. So is Mac his first name? Is Mac a weird middle name? I have no idea.
Because it's Alexis, isn't it? Alexis McAllister.
Something like yeah.
Yeah.
Also does not look like I thought he was going to look like with a name like McAllister.
Yeah, apparently Uranovic made the right cunt of that, by the way. That's knocked 10 million off his fee.
Is it the guy loses
the
ball
times
and it bounces back to him?
Yeah. So the question is, can France beat Argentina in the final?
No. The question is, can France beat Morocco? You said it earlier, Gav. Morocco, they conceded one goal. Nobody can write this team off.
Can
you imagine if Morocco won it?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Mental.
Sky Sports News were talking earlier, but they're still talking about Morocco as if they're diddies. They've knocked out more teams in the World Cup, the actual big teams than England have in like the last 20 years.
Oh, James, have you seen? You more than likely seen the stats on the forums and on Twitter and stuff. If you look at who England have actually beat in the World Cups in the last 10 years or something like that, the teams that they've actually beat, they're nobodies. Like Sweden and Colombia are the biggest two. After that, it's your Senegals and Irans and shit like that. It's ridiculous.
And then you've got Morocco, Spain, and Portugal within 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mental.
The biggest team that England have knocked out in the international stage in the past 10 years is probably Germany for 2 years ago, but that was a depleted Germany. And even at that, I think they had to go to penalties anyway to beat them.
That's what I keep saying, Gav, about cycles and internationals. Germany built up to their World Cup win. They peaked. They had a little bit of time after that, and then they drop off. They're in this period of we don't know who our next generation really is. What's the guy's name? Musiala, or whatever his name is. They're building players. They've not got the system. They don't have the players in the right places. Spain are slightly getting there. France have got there. And France have a team now that is arguably going to be good for the next 3 World Cups. Other teams like Germany, Spain, Holland, Italy, they're still trying to find what that team's going to be. most of these big countries, most of them, they don't look like England do. England go into every tournament thinking they're going to win it. Spain, Germany, Italy, and all that, they go into these tournaments and they think, right, we're going to show ourselves up. We're going to do well. We're going to aim for the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, but we're winning this tournament in 6 years' time or 8 years' time. They're not winning it this year. And they build. It's something that England don't do. It's something that Scotland don't do. We don't build on it. Scotland throw in players and give caps to guys who are like 28, 29 because we ran out of strikers and like, screw it, just give somebody a cap who's got experience, and experience is League One or Championship in England, which, yeah, it's a decent enough standard, but it's not world class. I'd rather give an 18 or 19-year-old a debut up front and see what they can do for the next 4-6 years. And if they can't do it, give the next crop. Not giving debut caps to 28, 29-year-olds who are predominantly failures, who've done nothing in the game.
Well, that was Talk Sport and Sky Sports News. They were comparing the average age. Well, they were looking at the average age of the England team, and it's like Foden 23, 24, 24, obviously Bellingham 19. But for the most part, they were all at 23, 24. This is our golden generation, as you say, good for the next couple of World Cups. But like, if you compare that to like Brazil, France, do you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much exactly the same.
Aye,
But it's
but
not as if they're like 18-year-olds that are world class all of a sudden.
So I saw the same thing. And if you think about it, in 4 years' time, we're going to have another World Cup, and that average age of 23 is then going to be 27.
Aye, in the
so if they don't win the World Cup in the next 4 years, i.e. when this golden generation is 27, the World Cup after that, they're all 31, 32. They're all over the hill as such. Right. They're on the wrong side of 30. So you've got one World Cup, whereas Spain are looking ahead and going, well, actually, we've got about 8, 19-year-olds in our squad. We're looking at the next 10 years. England are looking at the next 4.
Sefco on Twitter had tweeted before the start of tonight's game, we will be watching on from Glasgow with a big picture of Borna Barisic, the Croatian flag behind him. And Chris Sutton had replied back to say, you can enjoy watching Uranovic, however, from the start because Barisic is on the bench again.
Did anybody see I think it was the Daily Star, the main Daily Star, not the Scottish version, but the main one from down south? They have ran a piece that is almost like an expose of who Borna Barisic actually is. And I'm going to hands up and not get the podcast into too much trouble, I hope. This is hearsay. I'm just regurgitating the nonsense that I've read on a newspaper. Apparently, he's the son of the guy who is a known mafia gangster in Croatia as the Moth. And he's basically been a paid and bought position in the Croatia team, hence why he keeps getting called up, but never played. But he played one game, absolutely woeful, and then never seen again. Borna Barisic apparently is basically being gifted opportunities in like mafia pressures being leaned on people that he has to be given X, Y, and Z. It's an interesting concept. The Moth. Yeah. It's Stipe Barisic, Stipe. Apparently so. Blame the Daily Star. If it's not true, then the Jungle Gyms podcast takes no responsibility for hearsay and defamatory language. I'm just regurgitating. But yeah, it's interesting that such news articles are there to be looked at, but the Scottish mainstream media don't bother their arse.
See, if I was a gangster, I'd want to be called like the Iceman or something like that. No, the fucking Moth.
The Moth. I mean, what does that even mean when you think about it? Oh, he likes light. What?
He's a wee insect.
Argentina were. I believe they actually were the favourites for the whole tournament. As the tournament's progressed, I think most of us thought Brazil were looking very good. Spain, after the opening game, looked fantastic. But I think most of us overall are probably looking at the Muff. Are probably looking at France being the most consistent and dominant team in the whole thing. But France-Argentina final is a quality final to look forward to, hopefully.
Yeah, aye. Right, guys, shall we wrap it up and we can enjoy the second half?
Very nice.
Aye, to the viewers, thanks very much for watching. I appreciate that. There's a big game of football on right now, so thank you for watching this. If you can, hit that like button. If anyone's still here, or if it's just me, thanks again. But James McGinty, enjoyed talking to you. And I don't know who'll be available. Might be too early to say, but who might be available for the post-match review against Aberdeen on Saturday?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try see the game and try to be here for it as well. Things are happening, but I want to be here.
Right, I'll be sitting up here watching it anyway, so I'll be here.
Things are happening. A man of mystery. Right, okay. Well, assuming the game is not called off because the weather is shit, then we'll do a post-match review on Saturday. But hope everybody enjoys the remainder of the game, and hopefully Messi is crying by tonight.